People who sell beat up machines to other people. I'll give you guys a word of advice on this Bobcat MT100. Don't put your cell phone in the cell phone holder. This little cell phone slot right here, it's kind of shallow, and I hit a big bump and my cell phone just jumped out. It's just the right size for your phone, but my phone jumped right out on my property here and got under my track, and I drove over it and completely crushed and demolished it. This would be a good plug for the Samsung Galaxy S21 because the darn thing still worked. The only thing that didn't work good on it was the camera. Camera wouldn't work after that. I got my truck, I pulled forward 15 feet and I can't move. I'm jackknifed. So backing up isn't gonna save me. I don't like to brag about my stuff, about my goodies that I have and my machines and my tools and my implements, but I think this winch on the front of my truck deserves a little brag. I bought this thing because in the wintertime I was getting stuck in the snow on my property with full dump trailer loads full of wood. And obviously that was getting in the way of my money. So I bought this winch. This is a Tiger Shark. These are not a high-end winch. This is like a middling brand. But you can see it's got the 17,500 pound rating on it. And I built this bumper myself because I didn't want to pay the money for a pre-made bumper. And I'm just going to use this tree to get myself pulled out. So not really the right way necessarily, but it shouldn't take much pull to get me out of this muck here. I just need to move forward a little bit. Once I'm able to get forward, I should be able to drive the truck out from here. But I keep this cable inside the cab and I keep the waterproof cap over it. So I guess I got out of that one pretty good. Tore up the yard a little bit, but that's pretty normal for this time of year. Other than what I did just now, I could have been pulling on that thing and destroying my yard for 45 minutes with another truck. So, and the other thing, I was able to do it alone, even though there's people here. I was able to do that without any help, which is a big thing too. I have kind of a pet peeve about machinery in general and trucks and things of that nature. You know, it's common that you'll find people who don't take care of the equipment that they use, and what that really translates to is products on the market, used products that are just completely trashed and destroyed. The previous owner, you basically, once you own it and have it and you struggle and you realize all the problems you're having are because of the guy that had it before you, it makes you lose your taste for buying anything used. You know, it's not just that used things are bad. Used things are not bad. I would have bought a used mini skid steer if I could have trusted it. But I just knew that the vast majority of people who are bringing these things in to their business aren't really taking care of it. The part of the process of achieving new purchases is being very fixated on profits and earnings. Very, very focused on getting a profit and a gain, and really not taking the time or the energy to nurse your machinery along. You want your machinery to keep up with you. If you've got non-stop business every day for 7 months out of the year, then you want to go 7 months without maintenance. And I appreciate the zeal for business and everything, but what that really results in is just a glut of worthless trash machines on the market being sold far above their value. My machine has 300 plus hours, like 330 hours on it. And I would say I haven't missed any of the greasings, the oil checks, the hydraulic fluid checks, the air filter changes, anything, okay? I have followed my maintenance to the T. Now, have I run into some irritations along the way? Yes, absolutely. But if I could go back and do it different, I wouldn't. I'm glad I maintained my machine. And it's part of making the world a better place. You know, it's just amazing how many people, they have no concept of the wastefulness that takes place in the world when they do something like just destroying a machine and then selling it off. You know, these types of individuals, they're very fixated on making a profit, and a lot of times money is the key objective. There's no sense of longevity in their business. A lot of times they tend to grow their business more than they should, and it actually gets beyond what they can really handle in an honest manner, and they end up having disappointed customers and broke down machines that are very new and just making foolish mistakes along the way. And another thing too, you really can't put that much trust in a manufacturer to do a good job. The world is full of recalled items, okay? Lots and lots of machinery and equipment has been recalled over time, and it's better to just make sure for yourself. You know, I've heard of ditch witch machines. Actually, somebody did a demo on YouTube, and the machine was pouring out so much oil that the guy wasn't even able to do the demo. They had to leave it on the trailer. He wasn't even able to drive the thing because it was losing oil so fast they were afraid it was going to blow the motor. You know, good maintenance on your machine is a sustainable practice, right? We hear that word a lot, sustainable energy, sustainable whatever. But what it really means to you, to me as a business owner, is that I don't have to go buy another one of these machines. Now, if my profits are such that I can, that's a different story. We're talking about sustainability. Now, in terms of the world, in terms of the whole world and the world around you, it's more sustainable to take good care of a machine than it is to treat it like crap and not to do maintenance on it and then sell it off, and then it ends up being a broke down piece of crap within 20, 15 years down the road at the most, and then it goes to the scrap yard. When you could make a tractor or a good heavy duty machine like this last a good 50, 70 years. I've got a tractor over there that was 1960s tractor, so it's 70 years old now, still runs, still works. What I see a lot of is I see people who don't really think past their own experience with something, right? They want it to be gone. It comes into their life, it goes out of their life. It's all a self-fixation. There's no interest in making the world a better place. There's no interest in maybe someone else having a chance to buy a machine, a very good machine at a lower price to try to help their business along. There's no desire in their hearts to help their fellow man. It is just a blind and wandering way to do business, okay? The better way to do business is to think about the future of that machine. What is that going to be like? Even if it's not going to be my machine, it's going to be somebody's machine. I'm always letting stuff go for less than what it's worth because I just want to sell it, right? But I can tell you, anybody that buys a machine from me is going to be getting the honest truth about every detail of that machine. Along with abused machines, you will see that there are deceitful sales practices being used throughout all industries. Okay, this includes automotive, light, heavy equipment, all that stuff, okay? So when someone has a machine, they know there's something wrong. They've just got that feeling. They try to start selling it before they actually see that manifest, okay? Whether it doesn't run very good under certain conditions, or they discover that they hadn't had any oil in it for a year, and they're like, man, I put some oil in it and it looks okay, so I'm going to try to sell it off as fast as possible and buy another one, and that way I'll get the newer model and all that, right? Well, this manifests into a deceitful sales practice. The individual that was using it might obscure the facts of the struggles that they had with the machine. They don't want you to know, right? They want you to buy it. They want your money. That's it. The sooner they can get detached from that machine, the better. They went into this relationship with the machine already thinking about when they were going to get rid of it, already thinking about how they were going to get rid of it, when they were going to divorce from that, right? And so this whole experience as a buyer of a used machine is tainted by the massive number of bad machines that have been abused and mistreated and not maintained, okay? So this should lead one down the road of buying newer machinery and of maintaining the machine that you have. Now look, if you don't give a rip about your fellow man and you just you don't want some poor sap to suffer because of your folly, fine. That's the kind of person that you are. You have to deal with that on your conscience, okay? But me, I like to take good care of my belongings. I like to have it well maintained. And when it's for sale, I'll tell you everything that I've done to it. I'll tell you the maintenances that I've done. I'll tell you the problems that I've had. I'll tell you what the issues are with it now. You know, a lot of times you'll see there's something wrong with the machine and they won't even tell you about it, and you discover it, and then it's like a game, like, oh man, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I didn't even see that. Are you sure there's something wrong with that? And then you're supposed to somehow step up and be an expert, even if you're not one, and be like, yeah, that's supposed to work. Don't you know that's supposed to work? That doesn't work at all. Or that's supposed to go up and down, or that's supposed to light up, whatever it is, you know. And or this part's just hanging off, dangling by a thread. What is that? You know, and then they're like, oh, I don't know, that's probably just an aftermarket thing, right? There's always some made-up response. Deceitful sales practices, very harmful, very, very harmful to the industry and to people across the country, okay? I want to tell you guys some of the ways that you can identify a machine that's been abused by the previous owner, okay? One of the things that you look for is if somebody's saying that it's got new air filter, new oil filter, new hydraulic filter, new everything, right? The reason why those have all been replaced at the same time is not because it just so happened to be that interval, okay? And it's not because they really care about you. It's because probably the oil filter that was on there was the one it came with, okay? They've been running it on that same oil filter and that same dirty oil, and all that dust and grit and debris is inside that air filter, and they've never done anything to it. And so to conceal the fact that they never did any maintenance, they take the air box, they wipe it out and blow it out inside, make it look real clean. Then they put a nice brand new fresh inner and outer air filter on it. A good question to ask is, how many times have you changed the inner and outer air filters on the machine, okay? The correct answer to that machine, to those filter counts, is in the book, okay? And this leads me to my next point. Okay, so obviously you know then if they tell you that they've replaced them both 5 times or whatever, then you know they'd never read the book and they didn't replace them 5 times, okay? They might have done the outer one, but the inner one, rarely gets replaced because it takes an extraordinary amount of hours. Every so many replacements of the outer filter, you replace the inner filter, okay? You look inside the tube where the manual goes and you check the manual and see, has it been opened? Is it dog-eared? Is it dirty? Does it look like it's been opened on a job site? Does it look like they've folded up through the pages and found the pages for maintenance? You know, does it look like they've done any of that stuff? Now, preventative maintenance is on the underside of the hood, but just the same, you would expect a person to have gone into that manual for the details on all their services, okay? All the services are broken down in detail in that manual. If they haven't read that manual, they haven't maintained the machine. Plain and simple, okay? Automatically right there, you're getting a bad machine when you buy one that the manual has not been touched, okay? And don't believe the lie that they looked at the manual online. They didn't look at the manual, okay? When they tell you they changed the fluids and stuff like that, check them for their lies, right? Open it up, check the fluids. Is one of the fluids low? Check all the fluids. They might have changed the fluids in the air filter and still used the machine for 10 hours and leaked out a bunch of coolant somewhere. Maybe there's an issue with the coolant system. Maybe there's an issue with the oil. Maybe oil's getting lost somewhere and you don't know. But if the oil is even a tiny bit low, it's a question in your mind. It devalues that machine instantly, right? Because of statistical points of value. Statistically, if the oil is low, then that means that either it's losing oil or they didn't fill it all the way, right? A certain percentage of the time, it's losing oil, okay? That's how machines work. They lose oil and then they die, all right? So check that. Make sure you're not getting gypped by the guy. I want to lead us down a path of a conclusive path of how you know whether you should be buying a machine, all right? We've already talked about the devalued machines that are on the market, the abuse that they're facing. So now we're basically on the types of people. So what kind of person is in it to just get the money out and deceive you? I'm just curious. Try to figure out what kind of individuals are these, okay? We all know people like this. People who sell beat up machines to other people. So pay attention, and if you're looking not to get cheated, then you should really not buy a machine from someone that you don't personally like, okay? So if you're looking to buy a machine that's trustworthy and reliable, and you're probably willing to pay what the machine is worth, you're not trying to get over on anybody and pay less than it's worth, then you want to buy from someone who's sort of an honest individual, right? You're not going to have a positive connection with someone who's lying to you. There's going to be hiccups in the conversation. They're going to misdirect you. You're going to ask a question and they're going to ignore it. They're going to brag about how much money they made with the machine. They're going to show you the boat that they bought while they were using it on their business. Something like that, like stuff like that, that braggart type behavior. Very typical of a deceitful business person, okay? What you want is a humble person that's going to tell you the details, give you the full breakdown. When did they buy it? Who did they buy it from? Sometimes it's an old man, okay? Sometimes an old man, he's telling you the story about the machine and where he had it parked, and then he had to do the oil, and then there was a big mess in the driveway, and all this stuff. And then you begin to realize that this person is telling you the entire life story of the machine. He's been there for the ride. He cares. He knows about the machine, right? And he's humble enough to tell you, look, there's an issue with it, but it's still worth this much money, okay? He'll know the value of the repairs that it needs, perhaps. Or he'll understand what the money that he's put into it. He'll tell you that, look, I recently just did this fix, and he'll show you the components. He'll show you the receipts. There's not going to be any obstruction or secrecy, okay? He's not going to brag to you. He's not going to boast to you. He's not going to show and tell and be like, oh, da-da-da-da-da. This machine is so great. It's so powerful. Look at this, and show you pictures of what it can do. All that stuff you should already know before you're buying it, okay? Otherwise, you just haven't done your research. Do not be fooled by the hucksters, okay? There's tons of people out there like that. It's much better to just buy a new machine or buy a used machine from someone that you personally like, someone that you personally feel you can trust. They've earned your trust by exhibiting honest behaviors, okay? You're not going to see that stuff from most people. And it's really just better to walk away most of the time. Be ready to walk away. And if you know the value of a repair, then deduct it from your offer and make that offer. And make sure that it's the shop value of the repair plus parts, plus branded parts, okay? And it should be everything that the machine needs should be included in that, and then you dock that off the price that you offer them. And a lot of times, people are trading these things in at a shop, like a place that sells Bobcat, right? So the Bobcat dealer will take it back, and they'll pretty it up and power wash it and do a once-over on it. But frankly, it's in the shop's best interest not to tell you anyway, because they want you to buy the machine. They're selling it strictly based on machine hours. It's got nothing to do with the real value of the machine or how well it's been maintained, okay? When you buy a machine with 300 hours, you should be buying this many oil filters, this many fuel filters, this many air filters, this many inner air filters, this many maintenance inspections, this many checks on the tracks, this many tensioning setups, this many bolt inspections, this many wiring inspections. All that stuff that should have been done to the thing along the way, that's what you should be buying for those hours, okay? You're not buying a 300-hour machine, you're buying a 600-hour machine because it wasn't maintained. It's a whole different ballgame, This thing has a plug here for a regular extension cord, but the device that they put internal in there is not a good quality device, and so mine always tested bad no matter what, and then the light wasn't lighting up when it was charging. So I went online and I ordered one of these 2-gauge, 4-gauge plug setups. These are considered a battery disconnect, okay? But what I did is I purchased a set of these, and then I ran red and black wire all the way from the front of the truck at the battery to this plug right here, and I'm going to be converting all my trailers to this to keep all the batteries charged, because this minuscule little wires that power auxiliary on these are just too small. One of these is auxiliary, and it comes through this teeny little 12-gauge wire or 16-gauge wire. It's 14. It's just not enough, and I was finding that I was constantly having to hook up a battery charger to my battery, which is a giant waste of time. The truck is parked. It can recharge this battery while it's parked. I mean, my alternator on this truck has more than enough juice to charge the two batteries that are up there. And between those two batteries and this battery, we've got a pretty good big battery there. Lots of cold cranking amps. So I've just got my copper end lugs here, and I hooked up my wires, and I went through there, and I put some of this nice plastic over it. Probably good to do a nice job on that. And I'm doing that to any trailer that's got a battery, and this thing works a lot better with extra batteries hooked up to it. So this is a great way to guarantee that your battery on your trailer will never die, and that your dump trailer will always dump, and that you never have to plug it in. Never, ever, ever, never, ever, never, never, ever. As a side note to all that fun stuff, I will say that the trailer shop down the road from me charges like $500 to $700 to install a set of battery cables from your truck to your trailer, which is just a preposterous price. I think I paid $120 for the wires for my other truck. Well, and then you got to buy the plugs, which is like a good $30 or $20 or $30 for the two plugs. And then you actually need a little bit more wire. Somebody gave me the wire I used on this truck. It's probably, I would say all told, you're far below $200. Probably $150 to $175 in copper and components, and you just gotta figure out a way to crimp those copper end lugs, because they're very hard to crimp. You can get a hydraulic crimper, but they're kind of expensive, or you can just like use a hammer and a piece of angle iron and a chisel. I used my vise for one end, and then for the other end I had to doctor up a chisel with a hammer on a piece of flat stock, and I hammered it until it wouldn't move. And then I put Permatex black sealant, which is like a glue kind of. It's actually not, it's silicone, but it's silicone glue sealant, okay? And I put it in there in the areas where it needed to be totally airtight, and then I put Super 33 around that, which is the tape that you want to use on anything that, on your vehicle or anything you want to last. It's a 3M product. It's the best one. So I hope that helps you, and that's guaranteed to make sure that your battery on your trailer will never die.